Okay, hello. Welcome to some more command training. Today I am just going to be continuing my little series of going down the left-hand side of these little icons in command. These are called applets. I often just say tabs. So if you hear me say tabs or applets, it means the same thing, or the button to the left. So last time we went over smart plans. We're going to skip the referrals tab just because there's not a ton to go over in there. Hit me up if that's something that you'd like more information on. But today we're going to go over the opportunities tab. That's this one over here with the two hands shaking. I'll go ahead and click on that and show you a little bit about what this is like. So this is one of my favorite applets actually in command, just because I'm a very visual person. And this is a very visual applet. It's basically, if you have, I've got a sticky note on my desk right here with a little dachshund on it. Like if you had sticky notes of clients who are buyers or sellers, you just kind of move them along your pipeline. That is essentially what opportunities is. So you obviously have to have some context in here. So that's up here on the contacts page. And if you are interested in learning a little bit more about that, go ahead and just search YouTube. Or maybe you're on this page right now if you're watching the recording. It's just Keller Williams. I think it's just Keller Williams Grand Rapids East. If you just type that in, you should get our page there somewhere, and I upload all of these. So there's one on contacts there and how to upload them and script them and everything. So you do have to have some context in there in order to make this work. So once you're in here, you'll see this is kind of your main page for this applet. Oh, we had a chat. Am I at the office? No, I am not today. Nope. Today it's virtual only. So we have listings and buyers here. And then down here, you'll also see leases. So I don't personally deal with leases, but you'll notice, so you can see there's 000 on all of these. You'll notice they all basically have the same layout. That cultivate, appointment, active. This is the only thing that's different under contract versus pending, which I don't know, as an agent, I call a buyer or seller transaction when it's under contract. I use the word pending interchangeably. So I don't know how that's different exactly, but then closed is your last one. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom here, you can just kind of see how many opportunities you have and where in here. And now this might be reflecting, this is reflecting my team. See here, it says Heather Huber Homes versus me as a single agent, just Heather Huber. So this would have been when I kind of started messing around with myself being in the teams portion of it. I go over to my personal one because I haven't quite switched everything over yet because it takes a bit of time. Yeah, there you can see this is a little more accurate of what I've been doing as an agent. And this just tracks all opportunities that you have in there. So you might put in an opportunity that isn't, it's just somebody you met and you're like, oh yeah, they're gonna list their house in 2 years. That's gonna be reflected on this graph. Okay, thanks. And email said it was in person. Shouldn't have, I'm sorry if it did. I will send that recording out to everybody though after this. Okay, so listings, buyers, leases is all basically the same thing. You'll see your ratios here. And then over here, we have GCI. So your potential income, your probable income, and that is based on, we can change the probability of each stage. So what percentage of likelihood it is to make it all the way to the closing table. You can enter someone even if it will take some time in the chat. Yes, Terry, you can feel free to unmute yourself and ask. I'm not quite sure I understand what you mean there.
That took me a minute to find myself. So like you said, you can put someone in that doesn't plan on doing it for 2 years. So you could enter them in opportunities early. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And once I click into these, we'll see some subcategories. I'll show you how I have mine arranged. So some of those are a bit out. Yeah, so I guess that's about it as far as this main page here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on any of these bubbles. I'm going to go ahead. I just have more buyers, so you'll be able to see more. I'm going to go click on this cultivate. And you'll see I have the same tabs that I had on the last page: cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. Those I cannot change, but each one of those is going to have a subcategory. So we have 12 plus months, 4 to 12 months, 3 to 3, and then needs follow-up. So these aren't going to be the things that you see if you haven't played around with this at all. These are things that I have changed it to. So I think the defaults are something like a hot lead, warm lead, something like that. I don't know exactly what it is. What I did was I went up to edit stages, because to me, it's like, I don't know, I feel like I visualize things better in time. So Terry, like you were saying, these people aren't going to buy for another year, over a year. So I have them in this 12 plus months. If I wanted to, I could create another category that says 24 plus months or 2 plus years, or whatever, however I want to arrange this, I can do that. And then once we start moving along a little bit here, I can take this person and I can just drag them over here. Now that got updated to 10 buyers there. And you'll see that this checklist changes from spot to spot. Here it says 7, and yours might say 0 out of 0. That would be if you haven't set it up yet. You can set it up to just include whatever checklist items you want in there. So for me, 12 months out, at least 12 months out, take them off any other inapplicable smart plans I have them on. Like if they were a Facebook lead, I don't want them to keep getting those notifications once we've started communicating. Add to a quarterly call smart plan, add to the birthday smart plan, get the phone number, email address, and update database if needed. Once I check those off, which I do, like I have their email and address or phone number, for instance. Now I have 2 out of 7 of those completed. I don't have to have all of them completed in order to drag them to the next category. I'm going to go ahead and drag this over here, and you should see that number refresh. So now it says 8. I'm not sure why, why it says 8. Oh, you know what? I bet this might be a newer update because they've been going through and just kind of tweaking everything in Command and making it work better, as opposed to adding like a new feature and then it has some bugs. So I wonder if they are now including, because it used to be, it would just be whatever your checklist here was is now obsolete once you drag it to the next category. I wonder if they're allowing that to trail over. So maybe I had 3 tasks that I didn't complete here, which I now dragged over here. So now I have 8 instead of 5. So you'll see like this one has 5. And these are just the ones that I have put to default with this checklist. So in order to do that, I guess let's take a little pause here and I can show you how you do that. You can go up here to edit stages. That'll take you to this page. And so now under my cultivate stage, I told you I have these subcategories that I have created. So 12 plus months, 4 to 12, 0 to 3, or just needs follow up and they're not really sure when they're buying, or, you know, we haven't been in touch recently. I need to circle back on that. I can drag these. So if I want needs follow up to be at the beginning, so maybe I see that first, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to update that. Maybe I put that there. Just drag those around. You'll notice that each one of these has a probability percentage next to that. Command will automatically default those, but you can go ahead and edit them when you go to this pencil thing over here. And that's just going to tell you how likely is this transaction to make it all the way to the closing table. So the way that it's set up is obviously the farther you get along, the higher that percentage is. If you're a data head and you know those facts or you can crunch those numbers, go ahead and do it, because it's just going to make everything you're looking at more realistic when we look at that probability of what GCI you're going to end up with. We have our checklists here. And if I click on one of those, these are the 7 that default for when I'm in the 12 plus months category. I can add one if I would like. I can click these dots over here and edit it or delete it. This client update that we have right here, you see these little check boxes. If I check that off, you'll see that this little email thing, this little envelope comes right next to them. And that is saying that we are going to send them at the end of every day. If you have client update selected and if you check it off, it'll automatically send out this or an email that says something along the lines of, we're checking things off the list. And there's like a cute little picture on it. And so you might want to, like, obviously this stuff, I don't need to update my clients on any of that. Get email. We're checking things off the list. Get email. They don't care, right? But as we get farther in the process, maybe it's schedule inspections, order title work, some of the stuff that you do behind the scenes that they might not be aware of. You can have these emails automatically sent every time you check things off, and then it, they can see that you're still doing things behind the scenes after the transaction is already under contract. So I would just click save. I don't want to change anything, so I'm going to put cancel. So we got that checklist, and that would be updated. If I added extra checklist items, that number would change. Same thing here with the client updates. How many of those items are going to send a client update? And then we've got this little gear here. And that's just going to take us into some settings. Client update. So you can access this from, if you go up into your name and then settings also, that's just the page that it took me to. And I can, if you're on a team, you can toggle back and forth. Here's the team, here's the single agent. So those two things might be different. Wait, hang on, let's go over here. From whom do you send this? So for me on a team, the owner of the lead, so Jamie, who's on my team, if she owns the lead, that gets sent from her, or is automatically sent from the Rainmaker. If there's a client and a co-client, so maybe like, I don't know, a husband and wife, or maybe it's a younger adult purchasing a home and you want to give mom or dad updates too. Do we want to only send it to the primary client, or do we also want to send that update to the co-client? And then you can also send this to, so assignees, whatever agent is assigned to that, and the owner of the lead. So if you're a single agent, that's not going to be as applicable, just because you have some fewer options there. So heading back in here, sorry, we kind of have to go back through the maze here. Go back to my cultivate where I was before. Okay, so that is how you would go ahead and edit these stages. You can also delete them here. You can add an additional stage. I don't know if there's a cap on how many stages you can actually put in there, but do we have any questions as far as editing the stages or checklists or any of that stuff? Okay, then let's just continue looking at this board type thing. So speaking of which, I have it selected for board view because I like it because it kind of looks like sticky notes that you would drag along. You could also select list view. And then that just sorts them based on category. So it's just more of a vertical layout than a horizontal layout, and just a preference thing. You can also see the percentages here, the likelihood to close. And as I go along here, those increase. So 20%, 20%, 30%, once they're actively looking, 40%, 50%. For me, these are not accurate numbers. Usually by the time we're showing, at some point, we're going to get it under contract, right? Negotiations, I don't typically put anything under there because, I mean, if I'm in the middle of negotiating or writing up a contract, I don't really have time to just drag this here. If I'm just going to drag it back, or if I'm eventually going to drag it to under contract. Right? So for me, I just don't really use that one. Here we have everybody who's under contract. I really need to update this. For me, a lot of these, I think, come with a default, like the escrow, inspections, appraisal. For me, I also like to put in building, just because I don't have anywhere else to put them really. So they are technically under contract and it takes a while, but I put them under building just because it's, I don't know, where I can have them, I guess. And I guess I never updated the percentage on that. I should do that. Then once they're closed, you'll find, watch this. Where's somebody? Okay, Sherry can go over there. If I drag her to closed, I'll get an error message. Not an error message, I guess, but There is no closing date currently assigned to this opportunity. Please confirm a closing date. So it won't let you actually close out the transaction until you have a set in stone closing date, which is why I'm not going to drag her there. But once it gets this closed portion, this looks like I've never closed a transaction in my life. It's just as soon as transmittal is done for the month from your market center, those go away. And you'll be able to, I'll show you another place where you can see all of your transactions from all time, whether they closed or not. But yeah, they'll only stay there for, it seems like maybe like a month or so, but really it just depends on when transmittal happens. And then obviously 100% at closing and post-closing. Okay, so that's about it as far as like where you drag them, checklists, the different categories, all of that stuff. Do you have any questions about that? Okay, and one other thing. So I was just showing you buyers. If I show you listings, it's gonna look like the same thing, right? I can move them. You see different things light up. So I move them around. We've got the percentages. It's essentially the same thing. The only difference is I also had, like, I did the same categories, but you might do different categories. If that's what you prefer. Like for me, this is before going live. So we already kept the appointment, we've signed the docs, and now I have to do things such as like order photography or staging. And I'm going to do that before I put it in here. Okay, let's go back to one of these people. I can just click on them and you can see the name, the time frame, if you put it in there. If you didn't put it in there, it's, I mean, it's only as good as the data you give it, right? How much money approximately you think you're going to make, or it thinks you're going to make. And then which checklist items you've checked off or not. Are the client updates on or off? So those are those emails that will be sent as soon as something gets checked off the list. Who owns it, which is really more applicable if you're in a team setting. Then we can go here to view details or archive the opportunity. If I don't want to see it in there anymore, it doesn't get deleted. It just gets archived. And you can go back into your settings up here and find it that way. After it's been archived, if you accidentally did it, you need to bring it out or something. So view details, I can also access that by just clicking the name. And it will bring up this whole card. And I can scroll down too much just because this is an actual human and I don't want to put all his information out there. But you can go ahead and edit the general information of the contact of the property. You can do a little seller worksheet down here. You can also toggle if it's a lost opportunity. So maybe you went on the listing point that you didn't get it. That's just helpful, I think, for statistics, right? Not to beat yourself up about it or anything, but it's helpful to know, okay, well, for every 10 listing appointments I go on, I get 6 of them or whatever. You know, you can kind of see that a little better there data-wise. So seller profile, this is not so much his detail, like about him specifically, but it's more, is he registered on either on your website or with your app? If he is, he's not, obviously not registered with consumer platform. If you were, that would indicate right there. And this guide that kind of goes along with our your KW provided website, which is editable down here, or your app, which is also editable down here. Both of those contain a guide and you can edit the steps, you can check things off. So if they are registered with the app, they can see where they are in it. Documents. So depending on, I know we have probably some people from both Northern Michigan and Grand Rapids on this call here, and I know we do things a little bit differently. I think in Traverse City, I think you use DocuSign, and in Grand Rapids, we're still mostly using .loop. We're going to switch over at some point here, but no matter which one you use, you can click on this Start a Transaction over here. If you drop down, you'll see DocuSign or .loop. So you can just click either one of those, and that will open up a new tab with either DocuSign or .loop, and it will transfer over all of their information or whatever information you have. So if I look up here, if I were to actually click on this, you can see I've got his phone and email there. And that just means that that's within his contact card here, which I could actually go to. If I click on that, there's a button for me to go over to his actual contact card. So it'll pull in that information. So if I put his phone, email, the address of the home that he's listing, it will pull all of that into DocuSign or .loop and then autofill the fields that are necessary, assuming it's set up correctly, and that has to do with your MCA. We'll have that set up. And then afterwards, I mean, this is later on in the process. Just know that this is where you would find it. You can attach files here and submit them. I know in Grand Rapids, we're still using we're just like submitting through .loop, but you can submit them through command. You would just upload the documents here, either from your computer or like if you were in DocuSign, for instance, this drop down, if you were synced to a transaction, this drop down would also say DocuSign. You click on that and then just pull files in from it. So that's just kind of a list of things that you would need, and also listed under contract and closed. So those are kind of your different categories of documents you need, and you can see that they change. Let me do that. Northern Michigan does not give the .loop option. Okay, so you're strictly DocuSign. As we kind of click along here, offers and commissions. To me, I think this is more useful for the sellers than it is for the buyers. You could put in all of your offers as a buyer, like, oh, we put an offer on this one, didn't get it. Put an offer on this one, didn't get it. I suppose that might be helpful for data. But for me, this is particularly helpful for sellers because we can go here to add a new offer. We'll create a new version of this offer for you. So maybe I call this offer 1 and FHA, I don't know. Create a new offer. So we put in the offer date, when it's supposed to close. Okay, if it's FHA, that's going to be a little bit, let's say it's April 14th. I don't know. Parties. So I've got my guy there. I'm just going to get rid of that real fast. And then this buyer, email, phone, fax, probably irrelevant at this point for the most part. Address, and then are they pre-approved? Are they pre-qualified? Representation. So obviously I'm the listing agent in this case. I would need to put in whoever this is agent, buyer agent is. Terms, I can put in whatever amounts that I need there. It's basically just a giant form that you have to fill out. Maybe, I don't know, say it's $0 cash and 300,000 finance. The earnest money, option fee, termination option, seller costs, agent analysis. So then here I can type in for my client, let's say I get 5 offers and I just want to have them all side by side for my client. I can put in the pros and cons of each one. Cons, FHA inspections, pros, I don't know. Great lender. Summary, whatever I want to put there. Click save. And so then I just see this little kind of snippet of it. And I can keep adding offers to that. And I can accept or reject. We can add some things in here, add a negotiation. So if we're going back and forth, and obviously in this market, that's going to be a little bit trickier. You're probably not going to want to do that. Unless you just have one offer, you might go back and forth. Add an analysis, send an offer, remove an offer. So I can do any of those things. And then once I put these here, I don't know, let's do offer 2 is cash. Maybe this one closes a little bit more quickly. I'm just putting in things for the sake of time. Price needs to be bigger than 0. Okay, well. So large range in who is willing to pay what. Pros, cash, quick close, Okay, so now we can see that I have 2 offers there. If I select all of these, now this option wasn't available when I only had 1 offer in here. Now that I have 2 of them, I can compare the offers. So if I click compare offers, and here we go. You can see the sales price for each one, how much cash, how much was financed. All of those fields that I had to put in, they just become categories. And then I can email this offer comparison. You have 2 offers. Great news. You have 2 offers. Obviously, I can change that. Or I can download it. So that's just going to create, here we go, it pops up. It's just a spreadsheet. And some of you do that anyway. I do that anyway. You might have your own special form that you like to use, but this is just kind of another way for you to have that organized. Okay, back to offers. Do we have questions about offers in there? Okay. We go on to notes. You might want to write yourself some notes here. For me, I typically just do it within their contact card anyway, in the contact section. But if it's specifically about the transaction as opposed to the human, maybe you want to put them here. I will say that if you are on a team, this is where you'd be able to write notes and everybody can see them. So if there's multiple people assigned to a person, maybe you have a transaction coordinator or you have multiple agents working together, they can see those notes back and forth to each other. So I just click add note, the title, the description, just so you can see what it looks like. And it looks like that. I can edit it, I can delete it, I could add another note. Pretty basic. And timeline, this is just showing everything that I've done, right? I added new offer 1, new offer 2, and then I added this note. I can look, there's some filters over here in the last 30 days, 7 days, or of all time. What type of an activity was it? So if you have a bunch of things that are logged here, of activities that are logged, this is going to be obviously more helpful than if I only have 3 different things that I've ever done in this file. So what type of activity is it? And then which individual was it who created the activity or who did the activity? So in this case, I'm the only person on it, so I am the only person I can filter. If there were multiple people, I would have more people on that drop down. Okay, questions about the details, the more detailed side of the actual card. Okay. I click up here for client updates. So this is going back to that email. I know it's not all necessarily laid out like right next to each other, but we talked about the emails. We're checking things off the list, and then it sends an email. Here is where we have a little bit more specification. So yes, I'm going to send a daily progress email. What time am I going to send it at? Is it going to come from me or somebody else on the team? I'm in my solo account right now, so I don't have that option. Send to Kurt and to me. Maybe I don't want to send to me. Maybe I want to send to another person as well, or I can add a contact there. And then I would just click save changes, which I'm not going to do right now. I think does this show you a preview? I forget. This is just walking you through how to do it, but I'm trying to see if there's a preview at the end. No, there's not. Okay. The only thing that I have left to show you is all opportunities here. So if you recall, when I was back just poking around in my normal things here, I have 0 closed for anything, which is not true. But if you wanted to see those, because like I said, they go away after transmittal, you would go into all opportunities. And this looks like it's taking me a minute here to load. They're all kind of grayed out, but there we go. So this is just, kind of like a spreadsheet where you can filter and sort things depending on the category they fall under. If I go by their phase, It's taking me a second here. So it starts with active just because it's alphabetical. Appointment closed. Right now, I am only seeing 25 out of 92. I can show up to 75 at a time. Per page, I mean. So now you can see I'm seeing 1 through 75 out of 92. Makes it just a little bit easier for scrolling. So this does show all of my just normal Heather Huber ones and my Heather Huber Holmes ones. As I said, I'm still in the process. It takes a while to just move everything over there and make sure that you're not missing anything as far as smart plans and opportunities and all the things that a contact is associated with. But you can see some of them, like this is a team one because both Jamie and I are listed on it. Just the ones that are HH are obviously just me. But you have the opportunity, the address, and some of these, you know, if you don't put in the address, it's not going to be there. And you don't have to put it in unless you're actually submitting it right to your market center. So some of these have addresses, some of them don't. Type, that's going to be buyer or seller, or lease, which I don't do, so I don't have any of those. What phase, what volume, what commission do you get? And again, this is only going to be if you put in that information. So if I put in, this is $400,000 and it's going to be a 3% commission, it just does the math for you, right? It's a fancy calculator. Close date and any tags that you might want to put in your opportunities. I know that some people do put tags on their opportunities. And for me, I just haven't really found a use for it. It's just, you know, a little thing saying like, oh, buyer or seller or whatever you want from out of town. Or I use those a lot in my contact section. I just don't use them really in opportunities, but you absolutely can if you'd like. And then with each of these, you've got this little ellipsis over here where you can view the opportunity, or you can go ahead and archive it like we talked about earlier. Little search bar up here if you want to search by the address, the opportunity, the assignee, or the contact. Just put that in there and click search. Filters, this will look very familiar if you're familiar with the contacts tab, same sort of thing. Which market center? Well, I'm only affiliated with one. Should we include the archived ones? Yeah, maybe. You know, if you're looking for something, you're like, I couldn't find that, it might be archived. Opportunity type, opportunity phrase, team, if you have one. Who is the contact? What are the tags? Who is the owner? So you can see here for my solo, it's just me. For my team, it's me or Jamie. So I could just look for Jamie as an owner, for instance. When did it or is it going to close? And when was it created? You either apply, or if you have put some things in here and you just want to go back to scratch, you click clear all. That's about the long and short of that. Any of these that we click on are just going to take us back to this page, which we've already gone through. So. And I think that's about it. Closing this month, I've got a few. I've got one today, one tomorrow, but I don't have the closing dates in there, which I should. So those would appear here if I had those closing dates in there, but I don't. I mentioned the graph and the ratio. Yeah, I think that's about it. So what questions do you have? Nothing. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming today. This will be, I mean, maybe you're watching this on YouTube right now. If not, it will be on our YouTube, and I'll go ahead and just throw that link in the chat for those who are here today. Let me know if you have any questions, but otherwise, have a great day.